Zay Flowers, who had 8 or more targets and 14.4 or more PPR fantasy points in 3 of 4 games with Lamar Jackson, only with 1 touchdown in those 4 games. But you want to buy low on Zay Flowers.
He's got he's one of 4 players this year with a target share over 30%. He's been, a wide receiver 3 without Lamar Jackson, whether it was Cooper Rush or Tyler Huntley, maybe a little bit worse than that a couple of weeks. I think you're getting a top 20 wide receiver rest of season with Lamar Jackson. Go see if you can get Zay Flowers.
You like Trey Benson or Zay Flowers? He was your other buy low. Who would you be more inclined to buy low on?
I am more excited about Zay Flowers.
I'm going to look at the most traded list, and I'm going to compare Flowers to some of the guys on the most traded list. How about Chase Brown or Zay Flowers?
I'd take Zay Flowers.
Travis Etienne or Zay Flowers?
I'd take Zay Flowers.
AJ Brown or Zay Flowers?
I would rather have AJ Brown. I think the one exception to that would be if I was one of those 3-5 to 5-3 teams and need to start winning right now, then you might have to prefer Flowers.
Garrett Wilson and Brian Thomas Jr. Go.
So with Garrett Wilson, he should be coming back from his injury soon. Before the injury, his first 5 games, he averaged 9.6 targets per game, 19 PPR points per game. Let's not lose sight of that. Remember, Justin Fields was his quarterback for most of those games. It's still a dicey quarterback situation in New York. I think everybody is going to have to accept that. And the projected schedule is tough too, but those are the knocks against him. We know that he's capable of being a number 1, top 12 type of wide receiver in full PPR, and pretty close to that too, even in half PPR, and maybe not quite that high in non-PPR, but still pretty good. So you can still buy him at a discount going into the bye week. No one's starting him this week. If you can find another receiver to take his place for hopefully just one more week, I think the price tag is still relatively low enough where you can get some good value out of it in a deal.
I do. I think the schedule is worth noting though for Garrett Wilson. Cleveland.
It's not easy, but that's okay. Like, he's still going to get a ton of targets.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how tough Cleveland is. I mean, it's not like they're shutting down great receivers every week. They're 18th against wide receivers. New England is tough. Baltimore, we're not really sure. Atlanta's tough. Miami's tough. But Miami, I know that sounds crazy. They give it the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. He did score 20 fantasy points against them, though. He had a late touchdown in that game. All right. Now, I'm curious about Brian Thomas Jr. because I'm a little nervous about him. And
sure,
because of the Travis Hunter thing, right? There's a buzz about Travis Hunter, the ESPN reporter saying that he might get the wide receiver 1 treatment. Thomas hasn't really been that good. He's one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL in terms of fantasy points per target with a minimum of 30 targets. So why is Brian Thomas Jr. a buy low?
Because this is the cheapest that you've ever been able to get this guy. And I am not saying that he's about to become the dynamo that he was in the second half of last season, but I think he can still be a really good wide receiver 3, maybe touch the top 24 at wide receiver from this point forward in Jacksonville. I kind of am curious about how this offense is going to look coming out of the bye, and how Travis Hunter will be involved, and he'll get a bunch of targets. And does that change how defenses play these guys? Could it mean more one-on-one opportunities downfield for Brian Thomas Jr.? I think the days of him getting double-digit targets are gone, but the days of him still being efficient enough to use in fantasy could still be here. So no one should expect to get a lot for Brian Thomas Jr. at this point. We've all seen him. He's not even a top 24 receiver on the trade chart, but he is a top 30 receiver. And if that's the value that you're paying to get him, I don't mind taking the chance on him. And I do think Jacksonville is going to be one of those teams that throws a lot in the second half. And
it's not all drops, but a lot of it's drops. He has more drops in 7 games this year than he had all of his rookie season. And as a rule, drops are not that predictive. Like, drops don't generally lead to more drops. He's probably going to catch a higher percent of his targets next year, this week.
If you were to expand Alfredo's tweet and put wide receivers on there, this was Brian Thomas as well. He closed the season last year on a tear, and it all coincided right after their bye as well. So they had a late bye last year. Just went and looked at it. So they had a week 12 bye. But he closed the season, as we know, as a monster.
Yeah.
So
a Mac Jones monster.
And I don't think we should rule that out again. Like, when a guy's a first-round pick and has a rookie year like he did,
Yeah.
I don't think we should just say because of a bad 7 games he can't be that guy again. I think
right, but
he could absolutely be that guy again.
He could, but I don't think that that's part of the thinking here. Like, sure, that's some of the upside that could be in the back of your mind. But what I'd be worried about is if I'm trying to acquire Brian Thomas Jr., the manager that already has him, A, they've already invested a lot in him because they spent a top 15 pick to get him. And B, they're going to say, well, he could still do it. He could still be a big time receiver. It might make it harder to acquire him. If there's any type of static acquiring Brian Thomas Jr. in a trade, walk away. Don't give up more than you should. Use the trade chart. And again, he shouldn't be viewed as one of the top 25 receivers in fantasy at this point. He does have a good projected schedule rest of the way.
Okay. Would you guys prefer Zay Flowers or Brian Thomas Jr.?
Flowers. But I would also expect to pay more for Flowers.
All right. I mean, I feel like there could be a manager in a league that thinks Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome and might be able to, and maybe they'd be right.
Everyone should think Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome and has the potential to be awesome, but Dave's right. You shouldn't overpay for that. Like, when you're buying low on him, you're buying low with the hope that he gets back there. I mean, you go back to what's changed from last year. It's almost everything. It's new coach. It's different quarterback. It's added receivers and weapons. It's just everything is different for him right now. So, you want to see him elevate above that and play like that player we saw last year. And hopefully the bye week, hit the reset button. Jacksonville goes back and retools some things. And, and it might be to your point, Adam, that it's Travis Hunter that benefits more so than Brian Thomas from the ESPN report. So it could be a situation where we're looking at the wrong Jaguars player to buy low on. But I would hope that, as Heath alluded to, first round talent, showed us what he can do. You want to see if you can get that, but at the right cost.
I understand. Last year, though, like this year, he's got maybe Travis Hunter potentially taking targets away. Last year, his breakout coincided also with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram getting hurt. Correct. And I don't want to discount what he did. It was amazing, but the situations are different. However, I'm not sure if we mentioned the wrist yet. I'm hoping that he's healthier now with a week off, with that, because I think we've seen the alligator arms. It feels like he's been shying away from contact. Maybe the wrist is healthier after the bye, and we can get some good stuff from Brian Thomas Jr. But the important thing is we're valuing him as basically a number 2, 3 wide receiver, good, but not going to be, not say can't be, but we're not saying to trade for him as if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to win you your league. All right, Jamie, you got Bucky Irving, who we talked about, and AJ Brown as a buy low. I think that I love AJ Brown's schedule because they're playing some really good offenses. I don't think they're going to just be able to run the ball the whole game. Because when they've thrown a lot, it's been in their 2 losses and the come from behind win against the Rams. Slightly deceiving because the 1 loss to the Broncos, they were up big in the 4th quarter. But my issue, Jamie, is I just don't know about this injury, right? If it's the same injury he had in the preseason, how do we balance the potential for Brown going forward with this injury?
I mean, the report going into their bye week was that he was going to be ready after the bye. So you hope that you're getting somebody who's healthy and was getting targets when they were throwing and when they weren't throwing. So, you want to buy into what was a first round caliber player, second round caliber player, someone that still has upside. It's a very similar situation to Brian Thomas, but at least we've seen some productive games from AJ Brown, at least a little bit more consistently than Thomas. So again, you're trying to, I'm going to probably do this until the bye weeks are done. You're trying to find players who are on their bye from managers that are hoping to still make a playoff run, but can't use what has been, or in the case of AJ Brown, what you still hope can be a player who you think can be productive for you. So you're taking advantage of those situations. And so, you look at the AJ Brown manager that's hovering around 500, maybe a game below, that's still clinging to playoff hopes and trying to give them something that to help them now. And you try to get that player for a stretch run.
Jamie said something that made me think a little fantasy cops interlude here. Are we preventing? We talk a lot of times about if you're out of playoff contention, don't make trades.
Yeah,
there we go. Are we preventing any teams from making trades after 8 weeks?
I don't think you prevent. I mean, 0-8 is probably something that you question if it's a lopsided deal.
And obviously, if it's a redraft,
we're redraft only. Well, Dynasty, you don't prevent anybody from making trades.
Of course not.
Keep right. So I looked and in our auction league. You and I are playing each other, Heath. We're both 2-6.
It's an epic battle.
Epic battle. And so I don't think we're technically out of it yet.
No,
Not even close.
but 1-7.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you have to go with a little bit of a sliding scale as you approach it. I think if somebody's giving away AJ Brown for, Chimere Dike, like that's questionable.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen we'll say that there's 14 weeks in the regular season in fantasy.
Most fantasy leagues, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen a 6-8 team make the playoffs. Maybe it's happened. So if you're
yes, I've definitely seen a 6-8.
All right, then if you've seen a 6-8 team make the playoffs, then I'm not vetoing any trades based on record at this point.
Well, especially if you count total points.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, guys. So AJ Brown had 1 target in week 1. From weeks 2 through 7, he had a 30% target share. That's exactly what Heath said about Zay Flowers. That's a good thing for AJ Brown.